Welcome to the Novel Universe with your hostesses Ashley and Dawn. We rate and review the newest and most buzzworthy books. We are true book club girls who don't always agree but do enjoy a good book discussion. I'm Ashley, the fantasy architect.
And I'm Dawn, the criticizer of books.
Grab your favorite beverage and come and enjoy our universe.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the podcast, the Novel Universe podcast, with your hosts, Dawn and Ashley. And today, it is time for the, what's that song? It's the most wonderful time of the year.
And that's much bashing and loving of books.
Pretty much. It's everyone's time of the year. At the end of the year, everyone loves to give their tops and bottoms of what they read for 2022. And that is what we will be doing today. We are going to do our top 5 books of the podcast. That's what we're going to start with. And each week we will have a different podcast of our tops and bottoms. But today is the top 5 of the pod. Now, disclaimer. We only read like 13 books this year. So these are the top books we read for the pod. Not the best that we read personally. So just keep that in mind. We're not like, oh my God, this book is the best of the year. It's the best that we read for the pod. All right. Let's just jump on in with number 5. We gave the 5th spot to Gallant by V.E. Schwab. I cannot remember what I rated these books. I think I gave this a 4 on the pod. I don't know.
I think I gave this one a 5 personally.
Really?
It's like a 4, 7, 5.
Wow.
Yeah. And I think it was just because, like, you have to read this book and look at the pictures. Like, it's not one that you can just listen to. There's some books that we read that has, like, an illustrator, like, partnered with them. And it really helps drive this book. So it's like if you're listening to it, I don't think you're going to get the same exact experience if you don't read it. Yeah. This one was interesting because it's about a girl who's, like, a part of this, like, family line, but she's like half like dead but not. It's like a whole mystery series, and we actually, I don't know, it's unlike something we've ever read before, which V.E. Schwab does a great job of giving you something.
I also forgot to mention that you can hear our full reviews for all of these books in other podcasts, so we're not going to really go too much into them because we already did that. But yes, Gallant is about shadow magic. So if you're into shadow magic, dark magic, a lot of people did not like this book.
I loved it.
Yeah, it's not my favorite of her books by any means. There are several books I liked far more better than this one. However, I did like the main character a lot. I did like her shadow magic storytelling. I wanted a little bit more from the main villain, but I did like it. I did like the audiobook is really good. So if you do listen to the audiobook, also, like Ashley says, have the book with you because there are pictures. But I really enjoyed the audiobook. It like made me tear up. It made me stop and really pay attention. Like, it was a really good audiobook. So we liked it. A lot of people didn't, but we did. And it's more middle grade too. It's not YA.
Oh,
it is middle grade, so keep that in mind. It is for a young, it is for like ages 12 to 8. It's not for high school. So if you're reading it and you're like, this is for dum-dums or something, I don't know, then it's because it's for a younger kid.
Just so you're aware.
Yeah.
So that was our 5th spot. Our 4th spot, we had Verity by Colleen Hoover. And before you guys start, hold on. This was Dawn and I's first Colleen Hoover experience. Come to find out that this was her first mystery book. This was not a romance novel that she's like known for. This was something completely out of the ordinary that her publishers basically told her not to do it. And she's like, I want to do it. Like, this is the type of storytelling that I want to tell. And that was, of course, our first experience of Colleen Hoover. A little bit of mystery, a little bit of whodunit, a little bit of crazy, psychotic main character who, you know, fakes her own coma. But did she really do it? Like, did her husband help fake the coma to, like, run away and get out of this marriage? Like, it's a whole thing. But one thing things that I really liked about this book was the fact that like our main protagonist is brought in to be like a secondary writer for Verity herself. And she's, you know, on the brink of basically having no money and gets like signed on to this big old contract, and it's like a whole hell of a lot of crazy that she gets like signed up into. But yeah, I was still asking questions at the end of this book personally. I was like, was it that? Or did this happen? I don't know. Like, I think that the author does actually tell you like which way you're supposed to go with the ending, but it's for you to find out.
Yeah. I went into this totally expecting to hate it because although I suffer from FOMO, I'm also I don't always, especially with books, whatever is what's happened, what's popping, and what all the kids are reading, I'm usually like, yeah, it's probably bullshit, because I feel like I'm a more of a critical reader and not so much of a fluff reader, at least in enjoyment. And so I just assumed that all Colleen Hoover books were just fluffy romance and I was just gonna hate it, and why am I wasting my time? But you know, we got to do it for the pod. But I enjoyed it. I was like, from page 1, I was like, okay, she's actually a pretty good writer. I feel bad that I was kind of poo-pooing her before I even started the book.
This was like Ashley's pick for that month. This was Ashley's pick. She's like, I don't know if I want to do that, but everyone's reading it.
But you know how these book talk books go. You're like, ugh. It's just, everyone's just in a cult, whatever. They're just all drinking the Kool-Aid, and I'm not about to drink that Kool-Aid. But I did it. I'm not going to read any of her other stuff because I'm just not a romance reader. But I enjoyed the mystery. I enjoyed the characters. I was shocked. I did not know what this book was about. I didn't know what to expect. Was it a Lifetime movie? Yes, but I like Lifetime movies. I enjoyed it a lot. If she were to write another mystery, I would totally read it. I won't read her romance, but I would
totally read it. I don't know if I even want to venture out into her romance books because I enjoyed the mystery ones so much that I'm like, I don't want to ruin it. Like, I don't want to ruin it for myself.
Yeah. Yep. Agreed.
Her credibility there.
All right.
Number
3 is All My Rage by Sabaa Tahir, which won the National Book Award a couple of days ago. If you do not know, the NBA, or the National Book Award, is a huge honor. It is probably one of the most prestigious literary honors that one can get. And she won it. I was not shocked that she won it. It was a really good book. It's different from Sabaa. Well, she's only written one other series. That was the Ember and Ashes series, and it is fantasy. So for her to go from fantasy to contemporary and to actually something so heavy was like, whoa, you know, where did this come from? But it's about 2 young South Asian first generation immigrants. I don't ever know if I say that right, but their parents were immigrants. They are first generation Americans, I believe. Nope, not everyone. Somebody was born in Pakistan. So, but one of them is first generation American. And it is about grief, trauma. It is very, very heavy, very triggering themes, but it was beautifully written, as Sabaa is a beautiful writer. It's very honest and something totally different than what we normally see from books that are about South Asian teens.
And even as like a YA book, because this is like put out there as being young adult, there are some extremely heavy topics that even Dawn and I discussed in the podcast when we did this pod on this book, that teens are experiencing stuff like this every single day. And, you know, she just goes there, and her vulnerability really shows through with her writing with this. And I think that's why this was probably one of my favorite books by her, is because she touches on topics that no one wants to talk about. And she's coming from a place of actual experience versus just like, oh, this would probably be a good touch point. No, like, this is like, you can tell she has experience in, you know, just everything that was happening, because there is, it's about, you know, family, love, forgiveness. it's also about like loss and like being in poverty and being misunderstood for your race, and like just really living that whole entire mentality. And so the title of this book, All My Rage, is not what I expected when you opened it, because we're so used to her being a fantasy writer, that when you were reading it's just like you just feel all those emotions, like you can empathize with her, and like if the characters are, you know, raging through something, you're just like, I'm there, I totally understand. But I love when a book like emits feelings like that, because I feel like it's actually good writing, because I'm interested in what the outcome is of these characters. You get invested in them.
Mm-hmm.
And she kept them small too. The amount of characters that were in there, she kept them real tight knit. There's just a few, bless her soul, because yeah, we all know how fantasy worlds go.
Yeah.
So that was our number 3. And let's see, number 2 spot, we have The Bone Shard Daughter by Andrea Stewart, which this was one that I convinced Dawn to read.
Mm-hmm.
Only because I kept seeing it everywhere. And this particular book, let me just say, like, it's definitely adult fantasy. It is heavily plot and world driven book. Like, so you gotta buckle in heavy, you know, to understand what's going on. But it's just done super well. There's different characters that kind of go through. There's magic, and then there's people that don't have magic, and then there's whole like bone shard magic, which is a whole entire process. It's like almost like a tithe they're taking from these people in order to have like these construct armies that are ruling their city. But it's like, if you take away the constructs, like how many people are actually real, how many people are actually a construct, like it's a whole big world. It was done really well. And we read book 2.
Well,
Just
Dawn
to see where it was.
DNF'd book 2, but Ashley read book 2. But
I
book
did. I'll be
1,
reading book 3.
oh, look at you.
I will.
A
I
book.
want to see how it ends.
I didn't care for the character development in book 1, but her world was great. It was a world that I had never read before, and I read a lot of fantasy, and I've been reading fantasy for a long time, and it takes a lot. Mm-hmm. It takes a lot to not necessarily shock me, but to show me something different. Every once in a while, I will get something different, and I got something different with this world. I really like the world, and that's what compelled me to keep going. But if you like a world-driven fantasy, then yeah, highly recommend this series. You probably really, really like it.
Buckle in. This is not a weekend read, though, so just be prepared. It's not a weekend read.
No. Okay. And our number 1 spot for 2022, drum roll, brrr, probably no surprise, is Atlas 6 by Olivia Blake. And I made Ashley read this one.
She did. I was like, Dawn, are you kidding me? We're gonna read.
But it's a TikTok sensation. We had to.
It is. Their first book too, isn't it?
Huh? Yes.
Like, yeah. This is her like debut book. It's kind of like this whole. It's not, and I don't even want to compare it to Hogwarts, because it's not like, but it is like a school type of thing where you get selected to be a part of this like membership society, but your powers are like helping aid those who, you know, for the better good, if you will. It's more for knowledge purposes. It's not really like they're going out and battling people or whatever. Like, it's a whole secret society of power. And it's real trippy. It's real trippy too, how they, you know, they have certain events that occur that really like help you kind of dive into these characters like brain, and like if they are actually working together, because it almost sounds like at the beginning that one person is going to be like cut off. It's like, but they don't know who that is, and so it's like they're like trying to find the weak link, but yet each of them are completely out of this world, just magical in their own way, and it's like each of their powers would be beneficial to the society and whatever. But it was a mind trip.
Yeah.
And it was great. I was there for it.
It is a lot of like physics, quantum physics in particular, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
But don't let that scare you. It is incredibly character driven. So if you like plot, you're not gonna like this book at all. It's heavily character driven, and there's a lot of conversation and standing around and talking and discussing and talking and discussing, and it's pretentious, and I really enjoyed it because it's different. Once again, when you read a lot of fantasy, I would consider this more science fiction, but when you read a lot of fantasy science fiction, it tends to be repetitive, and when you find something new, it's like, hold on for dear life. And this is totally something different. I've never read anything like this before, and I was here for it. And I think I gave it a very high score. So
yeah, I was not prepared for it because it actually is definitely more of like, I love a good mix between a plot and character development. Sometimes even more so like the plot point for me. And so this, I was like, we're standing in a room again. We're back in the library, you know. but just hold tight. Don't let it like dissuade you in any capacity, because it is just like a psychological like mind trip. It really is. Like, you're just like, okay, so are they really evil, or are they like here for everybody, or what's going on? Is this person going to spontaneously combust? I don't know. Again, to thin air, but it's really good. Very good. Loved it. 100% loved it. So it's a TikTok sensation for a reason.
Yeah.
That's for sure. Well, we hope you guys will show us what your top 5 books are of the year, because, I mean, come on. Anyone can read 5 books in a year. I can understand 10 being a little rough, but 5, you can do it.
Yeah.
We're curious to hear what your top 5 books are of the year. We will continue to share our thoughts on how we feel about books with you guys. So thanks for joining us.
Yep. Our next podcast will be our personal top 5. And then we will eventually go into our bottom 5, because we all know that's what you want to hear anyway. You don't care about the top. You want to hear what we hated.
Yeah, because, you know, Dawn and I bash books real well.
Yeah, real good.
Don't like them.
Real good. All right. Well, thank you for joining us for our top 5 of the pod, and we will catch you in the next podcast.
Bye.